When we look at Big Ten quarterbacks this year, everybody's kind of putting the more experienced guys at the top of these quarterback rankings. But man, there is a lot. And I mean, there is a lot of uncertainty at the quarterback position for some of these Big Ten football teams. And that is what makes this fun. That is what makes this freaking unpredictable. And this is why I freaking love it. There are like 4 big questions that I have as it pertains to Big Ten quarterbacks. And I think like the answers to some of these questions could really determine what this conference really looks like in December. Who's maybe getting into the college football playoff? Who's getting into the Big Ten championship race, right? Which team is taking a 2, 3, 4 game type of jump forward? Who is the surprise team in the Big Ten? I think some of these quarterback questions that are answered could really determine what this thing looks like in December. Let's dive into some of these questions certainly right now. Let's start first at a couple of places that have extremely high expectations year in and year out for their quarterbacks. We're talking about the defending Big Ten champion Oregon Ducks, and we're talking about the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's start first in Columbus, Ohio. Now, I know there is a quarterback, you got Lincoln Kienholz, but it's likely to be Julian Sayin, 5-star guy that can absolutely spin it. He was originally an Alabama signee and commitment, but when Nick Saban retired, he was kind of this short-term transfer that went over to Ohio State last year, and he was on this team and kind of learned behind Will Howard and those guys last season as well. Look, I feel like I could be close to a Heisman finalist if I'm throwing the ball to number 4. If I got Jeremiah Smith on my team, if I got Carnell Tate on my team, I got Brandon Inniss on my team. Ohio State is wide receiver U. They are undoubtedly wide receiver U for a reason. It just makes life so much easier for the quarterback, doesn't it? When you can throw the ball in the midst of Jeremiah Smith and he can just go up there with one hand and make a crazy catch, right? It makes life picture perfect. And then don't forget about the great pass catching tight end that they brought in out of Purdue, and that being Max Clare. Like, there are weapons all over the field. I think when you look last year when Chip Kelly was coordinating this offense, this was an offense I think that was more really based on the run game. And they had great receivers, no doubt about it. But, with Will Howard and his running ability, with, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, both now NFL running backs, I think that's really what really fit them kind of best. But I think this year it's really going to pivot maybe back to what we're used to seeing at Ohio State, is really being that lethal passing attack and that team that can really hit the home run ball certainly over the top. Like, if you're Julian Sayin, you got all of these weapons. It's Ohio State. There's already going to be crazy amount of expectations. You're coming off of a national championship. Like, you don't want to be the guy where you dip down to 10-2, you dip down to 9-3. Like, you don't want to be that guy at the quarterback position. And Brian Hartline coming in as the new offensive coordinator, I think like Coach Hartline and Sayin, they need to just put him in a position to succeed, specifically early in the season. I think Julian Sayin is talented enough that once we get to the middle of the season, he's going to be slinging it. And this Ohio State passing offense could be one of the best in college football, could be one of the most lethal in college football. But here's the thing. Julian doesn't exactly get some of these preseason G5 or FCS games that other schools are getting. He gets one of the best teams in college football. Now, it is at home at the Horseshoe, but still, he's got to play the Texas Longhorns right off the bat. So that is going to be a good barometer. That's going to be a good test to really see where this passing offense is, to really see where Julian Sayin is. I'm very curious to see where he really lands on the spectrum with this group this season. I think they've got the potential to be one of the best passing offenses in college football, but we're talking new coordinator that's never really called plays before, and we're talking about a new quarterback. So despite maybe the talent that you have out there on the outside, there is a fair amount of question marks, but they just need to put him in a good position to succeed, and he's talented enough to really make this engine hum, right? He's got the keys to the Corvette, and I think he's got the talent to certainly keep it on the road, and that's really all he really needs to do with the talent that he has around him. Let's talk about Dante Moore over at Oregon. Now, both of these guys maybe started at other schools, but they had this last year to kind of sit, to be able to learn, to be able to kind of take in things from from their coaching staff to be able to take it and really learn from veteran quarterbacks. We talk about Will Howard and how much he played. How about learning from Dylan Gabriel, the guy who's played the most college football out of anybody, right, in the history of college football, playing over there at UCF and Oklahoma. So Dante was, I think, that's a great situation to be in, being able to learn from like a coordinator like Will Stein and being able to like de-UCLA himself by taking time to mature and develop. And that takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of honesty of where you really sit in your career, I think, to be able to do that at Oregon. Now, this is a little bit of a different scenario at Oregon as it pertains to Ohio State. Oregon has had back-to-back quarterbacks as Heisman finalists. 2023, Bo Nix, of course, and he played a lot of football as well. And then Dylan Gabriel. Like, that's like, Will Stein is so used to playing and coordinating, calling plays for extremely intelligent and extremely cerebral and extremely experienced football players that have seen a lot. Dante Moore was in and out of the lineup his freshman year at UCLA. He had some highs, he had some lows. But overall, it certainly wasn't a great experience. Now, this is really the first time that this Oregon staff is kind of dealing with a little bit of a younger quarterback that's not ultra experienced. That is, I think, a little bit of a new challenge, and maybe it's a little bit of an unknown. Now, I have all the confidence in the world that Will Stein's going to be able to do his thing. Like, Dante is an extremely talented quarterback. I think he's got the highest ceiling probably of an Oregon quarterback yet we've seen. Yeah, I know. They have a Heisman Trophy winner in 2014 in Marcus Mariota. They've got Justin Herbert. What do we got? Bo Nix. We talk about Dylan Gabriel. Like, we talk about all these guys. But Dante Moore's arm talent is just different. He's just different. They've just got to find a way to eliminate that bad decision-making that he made at UCLA. And, like, Oregon's offense is very, like, take what's there, get it into the hands of the playmakers, short to medium passing concepts, and just, high efficiency, high completion rate type of stuff. But I really think that they want to take advantage of the arm strength that he can really zip it down the field as well. So this is going to be very interesting because I think Oregon has an extremely high ceiling this year, despite the injury to Evan Stewart, because of the talent that Dante Moore certainly has. High expectations in Columbus and Eugene for both of these new quarterbacks. Ain't no doubt about that. Let's talk about the guys that a lot of people put at the top of these Big Ten quarterback power rankings. The experienced guys. And I think both guys are quarterbacking teams where it's like they're here and they want to jump to that next level. Penn State's Drew Aller, Illinois' Luke Altmaier. Like, Penn State wants to jump to like a national championship type of level. They've been hanging at 10-2. They want to jump up to that next level and really be in that conversation. And then you look at Illinois, Luke Altmaier, right? This is a guy that's started at Ole Miss, played a couple of years here at Illinois, and now he's looking to take this team, the Illinois Fighting Illini. Remember Lovie Smith? Remember Tim Beckman? Yeah, that program, he's looking to take them to that next level and get to the college freaking football playoff this season. So the question for these guys that needs to be answered, can they carry their teams to that next level? I think like a big question for Illinois is, with the loss of Pat Bryant, one of the Big Ten's best receivers last year, who steps up? Who steps up? They've got Hudson Clement transferring in from West Virginia. Hank Beatty is a name that's been thrown out there. Malik Elzy. Like, there's names that have been thrown out there for the Illini, but someone needs to be able to step up. Does Luke Altmaier make these guys better? Penn State is bringing in some very good transfer wide receivers this season. Kyron Hudson, Devontae Ross, Trepard Pena coming in from Syracuse. Drew, I think, just needs to be more consistently great. We've seen him be great in some games. Like, you look at the Big Ten championship game last year, he made some big-time throws, and he felt like he was matching the moment in that type of game. But can he consistently do that? Because, look at last year against Ohio State. I mean, and there's been some other games where, he just kind of folds up a little bit. That USC game last year was really, really good. Like, you need that more consistently week in and week out from Drew. You can't have these games where he kind of goes into a shell a little bit. A couple of years ago, I said, man, you get Drew off schedule and it kind of goes downhill a little bit. I thought he did better this past year when the pocket breaks down, when things get off schedule a little bit, but he's got to take it to that next level. Drew has got to play like a first-round draft pick if they want to be in that national championship conversation, certainly. Now, this next one, I'm a lot more liberal on what it actually means. Which second-year savior rises to the occasion. It could be their second year on campus. It could be their second year as a starter. But, man, there's a group of guys. Like, once you get beyond, really those 4 guys that I talked about already, once you get to, like, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that group, there's a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of guys I think that could rise to the occasion. And then I think whoever rises to the occasion for their respective team, I think that team has the potential to possibly be like a breakthrough or a surprise football team. Like Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. Like we've all seen his high school tape from Buford, Georgia. We all saw kind of the flashes last season. Now with Dana Holgers, look at that Wisconsin game. That's, I think, what Nebraska truly can be. I've talked about it before where I think they've got a very manageable schedule. No doubt about that. They've got a very manageable schedule this season. If Dylan takes that big step up that we think that he can take, that could be something that could finally vault Nebraska into a pretty significant conversation. I'm not maybe ready to say playoff conversation quite yet, but into that 8 or 9 maybe win type of category as well. Damon Williams, he's a very trendy and a very sexy pick right now to really be a breakthrough quarterback. This will be his second year at UW. He kind of started towards the end of the season. Will Rogers was there last year, and you saw more of Damon as the season started. He's so exciting. He's going to be so exciting to watch. He's going to be able to lean on a 1,000-yard rusher in Jonah Coleman. He's going to be able to lean on a great returning receiver in Denzel Boston. You got Amari Evans transferring in from Penn State as well. I'm really excited what he could be because that's a Washington team that could be a little bit pesky as well. They've got a schedule that's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's not the best, but it's not terrible. And man, if Damon really steps up into a big time role, we've seen what Jed Fish can do from offenses and the type of elevation that they can take year in and year out. And we saw what happened at Arizona. If that happens this year at Washington, I think that they could give a lot of teams on their schedule fits this season. Drake Lindsey at Minnesota is very interesting. He's got that typical pro-style NFL type of body, something like 6'5", 225, 230 pounds. I love Minnesota. I think Minnesota's got a great team. I think they got a good defense. I think they got a really good run game. I think they got good receivers. They went into the portal, did really well. Guys like Javon Tracy, guys like Logan Lawyer from UCLA out of the slot, even someone like Malachi Coleman, who was highly recruited. He was a former Nebraska Cornhusker. I think they got good receivers. They got a good run game. He's got good stuff around him. He's got a very good team around him. I'm curious to see just what level Drake is playing at. Minnesota fans really like him. Okay, he was kind of like a 3-star recruit. Did some services have him as a low 4-star guy? But Minnesota clearly is investing into him, and they're clearly very confident in him. They went and got Zach Pyron, I think, as an insurance policy in the transfer portal. But I think they believe in what he can be. And if he can be good, I don't think he's definitely not going to hit his ceiling. I think throughout his career this year, I think the best is yet to come for maybe Drake Lindsey. But man, if you start to see it middle of the season, you start to see him develop, this could be a Minnesota team that I think could be really, really good this season. Aiden Childs is another one. We know it will be his second year as a starter at Michigan State, his third year in college football. Michigan State, another team that doesn't have a terrible schedule. Aiden, where they're hoping that he got that turnover bug out of his system certainly last season, and that's a team that I'm I would keep an eye on them. If that Joe Rossi defense takes a step up, we know Nick Marsh and Jack Velling are back as targets on this Michigan State team. They could really step up. Ryan Brown is the guy, very fun to watch. Remember last year how he was making plays in that Illinois game, and they nearly found a way to pull that upset last year. I know Barry Odom and that squad, they got a lot of work to do certainly at Purdue, but this is one where it's he's a redshirt sophomore. He played a little bit last year, so I guess you could kind of put him in somehow into the second year category as well. I think out of all of these guys, Aiden Childs, Dylan Raiola, Damon Williams are ones that I think could really step up and be in that top 5, top 6, top 7 type of category this season. One of these guys, at least one of these guys is going to break out and have a really, really good season. Those are 3 guys that I think could possibly answer the question. And then we got transfer portal guys. Which will a transfer portal quarterback flex their team's portal power. A third of Big Ten starting quarterbacks are slated to be transfer guys. Mark Gronowski at Iowa, Billy Edwards at Wisconsin, Nico Maliava over there at UCLA. You got Preston Stone at Northwestern. You've got Justin Martin at Maryland. You've got Fernando Mendoza over there at Indiana. Like, you've got a lot of these guys certainly in there. I out of all of these guys, I think there's like two and then a third that really stand out to me. Fernando Mendoza, I think, is going to have tremendous success at Indiana. When you combine the system, when you combine what's coming back, their leading receiver, Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper's coming back as well. Like that, nobody's really talking about this. Indiana's roster is as good as it was at the very least last year. They've just got a more difficult schedule and more difficult games. But like second year of Siggy, I think that this is going to be another really good football team in Bloomington, Indiana. It would not surprise me if Fernando Mendoza really lights it up in this Indiana offense. We saw what the type of jump that Curtis Rourke could certainly make. Boy, I'm really high on Fernando Mendoza and this Indiana offense this year. Mark Gronowski, he's probably the best quarterback Iowa has had since Nate Stanley in 2019. You could see the upward trajectory that this offense was making last year. Now, if you have like a guy who's been there, like he's been a winner at South Dakota State, that's all he's done is win. And now you really plug him into this Tim Lester offense. Now, the big deal for the Iowa is going to be, can these wide receivers separate on a consistent basis? Can they get open for Marky Mark to be able to make those plays? I think that's going to be the question for him, but I love the direction I think that Iowa is going, and I think they're going to continue to take steps up, certainly, at the quarterback position. And then Nico Maliava over there at UCLA. I think this is going to be a UCLA offense that's going to look to throw. I think they're going to look to throw often. And that's another one of those teams that I think is maybe lying within the weeds. If we get Nico, and I love the combination with Tino Sinceri, formerly of the Indiana Hoosiers, now he's the OC over there in Westwood. I love that combination. I think this is a team that can kind of be a little bit scary and can give a lot of teams fits. I love the fight. I think Deshaun Foster is a really good fit for what UCLA certainly is doing right now. I think there's other guys on this list. Like, I don't think much is going to be expected out of Billy Edwards at Wisconsin. I think that's going to be that team's going to be leaning a little bit more towards the run, which I think is good. It's going to allow Billy to kind of protect the football a little bit better, make easier and simpler decisions as the season goes along as well. Which one of these questions will be answered? Who's going to stand out? Well, unfortunately, we got to wait and see, but let me know your answers to these questions in the comments below, and let's chat it up. Let's have a discussion.